Hey guys, Lightane here, and I was a kid once. I know, crazy to believe everyone just pictures me like this, but I was a kid and I can prove it with this picture. Aw, wasn't I cute? Anyway, something that's been going around YouTube lately is the top 5 childhood games, and I was nominated by both Poofy Gaming and Allie's Meow, which you should totally check out. I have links to their channels in the description. So I got nominated twice, so I thought, why not do a top 10 video of my favorite games? And then I was like, well, I like to do top 11s because I put that little bit of extra effort in, so now I've got top 11. So this is my top 11 games that I loved whilst I was a kid. So when I was growing up, I had a lot of fond memories and a lot of angry memories too. I was a very vocal child when it came to dying in video games. I would yell, I would scream, I would rage. I even made up my own words like hate instead of concentrate. But still, I have so many fond memories, and I was privileged enough to have a lot of games growing up, and I also knew a lot of people that owned different games than I did, so I got to play a vast majority of games that were around my time. That being said, narrowing this down to 11 was actually pretty hard, and I did put a few rules in place just like I did last time. The first is that I'm only going to use one game per franchise with a few cheats, so just don't worry what I said about that. This is games from my childhood, so I believe that I stopped being a child when I was 13, because that's when you're a teenager. So I'm only going to be doing games that were released before 2003, because I turned a teenager in 2003, so you can work out the year I was born. And finally, this is my own list, so if you don't agree with it or anything, you know, that's great. You know, you have your own list too. These are just games that I think were great when I was a kid. Just remember that I was a kid playing these. So anyways, let's jump right in with number 11. That's 11 because it's 2 ones. It was hard to pick, but number 11 goes to Oddworld Abe's Odyssey. I put it here instead of the much better sequel Abe's Exodus because I didn't own that until I was older. I have gone into much greater detail about this game and its sequel in other episodes, which you should totally watch by the way, but in short, this is a game that is absolutely hilarious. There are so many secrets to find, and you feel good when you solve the puzzles in the room and rescue everybody. It is such a fun game that I played it a lot until my disc actually cracked. Number 10 stars everyone's favorite mouse, Mickey, in this game called Castle of Illusion, the one for the Master System, not the Genesis or the Mega Drive, depending on where you are. You have to put a stop to the evil witch Miserable, haha, good pun, by going through many different levels of her castle. This game was hard and very unforgiving, and if you made a mistake, it usually cost you your life. As a kid, I never beat it. I did make it to the final fight, but I just never won. I would play this game a lot with my sister, fighting on whose turn it was, and getting upset when she died, only to die myself fairly quickly. And while I haven't played it in years, I can still remember a lot of things about it. I still have a lot of fond memories about it, and also a lot of rage-induced memories where I would yell at the screen because I'd miss a jump or died to an enemy, so it scarred me, but in a good way. Crash Bandicoot 3 is an amazing game, simple as that. This was Naughty Dog's 3rd game in the series, obviously, and it honestly shows. The levels are a lot of fun, the controls are tight and very responsive, and Crash handles well, and if you die it's often because of dickhead enemies, and that means you need to get better. Never in the game do you feel like it's unfair, it's just that you have to learn where the enemies will be, and then you have to make those jumps and that killing before they get you. Putting a stop to Cortex once again shows that the story isn't the best, but it doesn't have to be because it has so many great levels and the bosses and variety just everywhere. You run, climb, ride tigers, motorbikes, chase down all the crystals, but that's not all. Each stage also has at least one gem for breaking all the boxes, some have a colored gem, and there are even relics that work as a time trial mode, making sure that you have to master every level in this game if you want 100%. And although some levels are frustrating as hell, this is probably the best game of the entire series. Just listening to that music brings me back to my youth with this game called Bobble. Originally an arcade cabinet game, there have been many releases of this, but the PS1 version is the one that I played a lot of. My sister's friend owned it, and they would play this non-stop for hours and days at a time. Then I would get to play when my sister's friend left, so that was good. But oh my god, it was so much fun. I know for a fact that we sent our mum insane with this music alone, and it still haunts her to this day. You play as Bub and Bob, who are turned into bubble-blowing dragons before their girlfriends are taken away, and you have to travel down 100 floors to save them. You do this by trapping an enemy in a bubble and then popping it. It's so very simple, but oh so addictive. Figuring out how to get through each level, dodging all those bad guys who the purple thieves can go suck a dick because they are the absolute worst and they would kill me all the time, and also trying to just stay alive in general until the end. You also had a short time limit within each level because if you took too long, then a white ghost would just fly around and hunt you down, which you could still complete the level and dodge him, but there's a high chance of you dying. But the best part is that when you finally beat it, which my sister and I did, it tells you have to do it all again. It wasn't the true ending. Well, start up that music and let's do it again. Growing up, I mostly played games with my sister, either taking it in turns or watching each other play, but this was my game. Super Metroid was a game that didn't interest my sister due to its hard and cryptic nature, but it sucked me right in. From the opening music and level, fighting the bosses and exploring the world, it was just amazing from start to finish. Having never played the other Metroid games, I wasn't too sure what was going on, but I knew that the space pirates were bad and that I had to kill them. This game is a masterpiece. The atmosphere, the controls, the layout of the map, and its levels are just unforgettable, and the lack of direction or tutorials made this game so much harder, but oh so much fun. After I beat it, I saw that I barely found any of the secrets, and I had to play it again, but this time I knew how to wall jump, and I opened up many new levels and areas that I wasn't allowed to reach before, and I could go pretty much anywhere and just increase this replay value. It was just so much fun. This is kind of where I cheat. This game is a single cartridge that just so happens to have lots of games on it. That's right, Super Mario All-Stars is here. Mario needs no introduction because nearly all of his early games were fun and amazing. This cart has Mario 1, 2, and 3 from the NES and an upgraded version of Japan's 2 called the Lost Levels, but the best part was that some of these carts also featured Super Mario World, which is my favorite Mario game. I spent countless hours playing through this game and finishing every level. I was then floored when I found a secret exit in one of the levels which opened up new paths with new levels. Then I found a Star Warp for the first time that opens up a secret world. And then, if you find all the secrets in each of the secret levels, it opens up a double secret world. Oh my god, as a kid this was just incredible and blew my mind. My sister and I played this so much and we would replay it all the time just to relive the game because it was just that good. No matter how many times we beat it, we could always go back to this game. This is also the first and last time I ever wrote down anything in the notes section. Do you remember those at the end of game booklets? They would have a notes section. I don't know anybody that actually used it. Sometimes kids wrote down cheats in there, I guess, but I used it to write down where some of the secret levels were so I could remember on a future playthrough. Oh, and playing the other Mario games were great as well, but yeah. This is a bit more of an obscure game that everyone actually knows about now called Tombi, or Tomba if you're in America, and I don't know why they changed the name of it though. This game has you playing as Tombi while he travels the land in search of some evil pigs that stole his grandfather's gold bracelet. It's a pretty simple story really. But don't let that fool you though, this game is incredibly complex because nearly everything you touched, collected, or tried to do, an event would pop up. These were quests for you to complete, and while some were mandatory to finish the game, most of them were side quests that just added to the huge scope. I'm not gonna lie, I couldn't finish this game as a kid. It was just way too hard. I could get mostly through the levels when it came to finding the evil pigs and their pig bags to trap them in, because, you know, that's how you trap pigs. I found them so hard to find and collect, and I just didn't know where all of them were. Not only that, but there were many events that I just had no idea how to finish because they don't give you any clues except for the event name. but I still enjoyed it. The graphics are great, the music is kick-ass, and I use it all the time, and there is so much to see and do in this game, and many levels are just so fun, and the characters that you meet are just so great. I highly recommend this game and its sequel, and I wish I could put the sequel on this list, but I had to narrow it down to one. But yeah, Tombi 1 is probably the better of the two games in my opinion, but still I love the sequel just as much. I played it just as much, but yeah. So you know how I said the rules at the beginning that I was going to cheat twice? Well, I'm going to cheat again with my number 4 because it's Crash Team Racing. And my argument is that it's not really part of the original Crash trilogy, it's a whole different type of game. And you know what? It's my list, so it's going here. Anyway, this was Naughty Dog's last use of the Crash character before they moved on to Jak and Daxter, and boy, it was a great way to send him off. This is a kart racing game in the same vein as Mario Kart, where you pick a driver and there are courses based on the 3 games with weapons like missiles, and like they act like red shells, or Aku masks, which are like stars, and amongst other things. But this differs from Mario Kart quite a lot. The first is that you collect 1 per fruit from the track, and if you get 10, your weapon upgrades and changes into a more powerful version of it. The mask lasts longer, or the missile travels faster and explodes in a bigger radius, as well as your top speed is being increased. This game also added a hang time boost, where the longer you were in the air, the bigger the boost when you land. Lastly, it had the power slide boost with up to 3 charges that were time charges as well, with a small bar that you had to fill up in the bottom corner as you were drifting around any corner. I played this game so much it's not funny, and few of my friends played it nearly as much as I did, and we had like this good rivalry where we would verse each other all the time. The main cup had a story to it, although silly, with nitrous oxide trying to take over the planet, but the heroes have to race to stop him. This was quite different from most other racing games where they only had maybe the semblance of a story or none at all. Each level had 3 different types of races, with a trophy that you just have to come first in, a coin race which you had to collect the letter CTR hidden somewhere in the level and then come first, and finally time trial, which had you finish 3 laps as fast as you could to earn a relic. There were even boss races where you had to race against a cheating boss, where you had to not only overcome their over-spamming of abilities, but come first in a level. It's incredibly hard. Oh man, I could talk about that game for such a long time because it is just so much fun. And honestly, this was like the first kart racer that Naughty Dog ever did, and it came out brilliantly. Everything about this game is just great. There's so much things to unlock, there's so many courses, there's so much to see, play, and do. Honestly, it's incredible. And this is not a very popular opinion, but I'm going to say it, and this is probably going to cause a little bit of hate in the comments, but I think Crash Team Racing is better than Mario Kart. Yeah, I said it. That's my opinion. It's more fun, the characters are more great, the fact that there's a story mode, all that kind of stuff just makes it so much better than Mario Kart 64. At least in my opinion. Whilst you're sending me in that hate mail, don't forget to watch the top 3 now. You know, there's going to be 3 left, so let's continue on with my list. This franchise has its roots all the way back in the NES days, but my favorite game in all of the long history of Legend of Zelda is A Link to the Past. This game is what I think of when it comes to 2D Zelda. It has everything: secrets, dungeons, great boss fights, an intriguing story that gets better as you play it, and there's just so much to explore. While this game does guide you a little bit on where to go and what to do, it isn't in your face about it, and I think that is the way that these kinds of games should be. No fairy saying, "Hey look, listen," every 5 seconds. No, it's just you and your thirst for exploration. As Link, you are tasked to help Zelda by freeing the Master Sword and stopping Aghanim, which shouldn't be too hard, right? You are given the rough spots of the dungeons on your map, and then it's just off to sort things out. Honestly, this game is so much fun from start to finish, and I played it non-stop. That is whenever I rented it from the rental store. Remember when those were a thing? I actually never owned this game growing up on the Super Nintendo, but I did get a Game Boy Advance as a kid, and this was my first game on it, along with the Super Mario World remake. I took this everywhere, and so long as the batteries held up, I was playing it. Without any kind of guides or help from friends, I figured out this game and found nearly everything. I think I missed out like 1 or 2 heart container pieces, but man, that's pretty good without looking up guides, I think. I looked absolutely everywhere in this game, cutting down nearly nearly every bush to see if there was a hole there, or lifting up every rock to see if there was a secret hidden on there. Everything could be a secret, so I tried everything everywhere. The soundtrack was great and the art style was fantastic, and overall a joy to play. Pick it up on the Virtual Console now. I highly recommend this. This was a very hard choice for me to make between number 1 and 2, but I settled on Sonic 2 as being my number 2. I have so many fond memories of this game. My sister and I would play this for days and days and really never beating it because the end was just way too hard, but that didn't stop us from trying again the next day. I usually had to play as Tails as my sister was older, so she had to be Sonic. She also loved running away from me, so I couldn't ever play through any of the levels because, yeah, she would just run away and Tails can't keep up. Sibling rivalry. Anyway, what I was good for was helping to kill the bosses at the end because, as everybody knows, Tails is invincible and, he can't take any damage. So I would be the one, attacking Robotnik whilst my sister tried and hide and not die. I also helped out a lot in the bonus levels as well. These were quite impressive when they came out because it was a pseudo 3D effect where you are running down a pipe, dodging bombs and collecting rings in order to get an emerald if you did. They were pretty hard, I'll tell you that. By the end of the game, you get to the airship and Tails is no longer with you, so Sonic must do the rest of the game alone, which is why it was so hard. No indestructible Tails to kill things. Nope, now you need skill. Damn. But if you do make it to the final bosses, then you are in for some even harder times. You have to fight Metal Sonic, then Robotnik, all without any rings. So if you take a single hit from any attack in the entire 2 boss fights, you die and you have to do both again. This is pretty hard as literally any wrong move will kill you, which is why I could never do it as a kid. Still, I will always have great memories of playing this game. The speed, the colors, the laughs, and the frustration at the oil zone, because when you fall into the oil, it's almost a death trap and it's so annoying to get out. Or the Metropolis zone with those goddamn fucking starfish and praying mantises that would kill me all the fucking goddamn time. Still, go and play it. Now, not all the games that I thought up of could fit on my list, even though I extended it to 11, so here are my honorable mentions before I get to my number 1. Mario Kart was easily my number 12, or number 11. It was really hard to pick, but I ultimately went with 12, and it is so much fun, and it is so great. It doesn't really hold up as much today because of goddamn freaking Luigi that just makes me want to throw my controller across the room and yell and scream. It's a very frustrating game. But I still had a blast playing it a lot, and I would play battle mode with my sister a lot, and it was just a lot of fun. Alex Kidd is here. It was a game that was released on the Master System too, that was actually built into the console. So if you turned it on without any game present, boom, this would pop up on your screen. And it's a pretty fun game. You travel through, it's not too complex in terms of gameplay, but it was pretty difficult. And the best part is that you defeat some of the bosses with a sim-sim-sum fight. Yes, they call it Jenkin in here, but still, it's pretty cool. Pandemonium was a 2.5D game, which is a game that has 3D characters and stuff, but it controls as a 2D game where you're just moving left and right like a side-scroller, and this game was a lot of fun. There was a lot of secrets, there was a lot to see and do in every level, and it was just so bright and colorful before it got darker as the game went on, as you traveled through the lands. And while it has aged terribly, I used to play this game a lot as a kid, and I would borrow it and rent it and try and get it every way I could when I was younger, but I sadly never owned it. Wonder Boy was my other honorary mention. It's a game where you're playing as the titular Wonder Boy as he runs through each level on an on-rails thing, so you can't really stop and you can't really change the direction that you're going in. You're always running to the right whilst you're dodging obstacles and you're trying to, kill the bad guys along the way. It's pretty fun, it's a little difficult, and as a kid I never beat it, and when my sister did beat it, she would make so much fun of me being a bad player of games and I could never beat it, blah blah blah. Maybe that's why I changed my habits and I became an ultimate gamer and now I can beat her in everything. Suck it. One of my favorite Final Fantasy games of the entire series is Final Fantasy IX, and this is such an amazing game. It doesn't get as much praise as it should because it's usually overshadowed by 7, but honestly 9 is very, very fun. All the main characters are great. There's a lot of humor in this game compared to some of the other ones, and the story is pretty compelling. Like from the start to finish, you don't really know where it's going to go. The bad guys aren't as memorable maybe as 7 or 8, but I would say that this game is amazing, and I played so much of it. I put way too many hours into this game, but I'm proud of it because I thought it was a lot of fun. Fantasy Zone is another game that I used to play quite a lot, and it's another one of those arcade games where you play as a pilot in a little weird ship, and your goal is to bomb the different ports and stuff like that that are in each level before you fight and confront a boss. The best part about it is as you're killing bad guys and enemies, they drop coins which you can buy upgrades with, so either to fly faster or a better weapon or better bombs and stuff like that. But that's where the bad part is as well, because if you were to die, you lose pretty much everything, and if you do that in any of the later levels, it just means death. You can't finish it because you'll just be doing no damage to anything, and you will just die like that. But still fun. Chameleon Twist 2 is the game that I'm representing the N64. It's the only N64 game on my list. Surprising, right? Why would I pick that? And that's because I never owned an N64 growing up. I would borrow it from the local video rental store. You could actually borrow consoles back in the day, which is pretty cool. You can't do that now. Because maybe there's no video rental places anymore. Regardless, and I used to borrow Chameleon Twist 2 all of the time. It was a fun platforming game, and you could lick up all these different enemies and shoot them out at people. The platforming was fun. The stages were big and varied and colorful, and going through Wonderland is just, it's a joy to look at. Maybe not so much today, but back then it was. And it was slightly easier than that of Mario 64 because I was still getting used to 3D games, and Mario 64 was quite hard. And I didn't get to play Smash Brothers too much until a bit later when a friend of mine bought it, but that was already when I was a teenager, so I couldn't put that on the list either. The last honorable mention goes to Kingdom Hearts, the original Kingdom Hearts for the PlayStation 2. And yes, this was a game that was released in 2002, so it does fit my criteria of being a kid, but I never played it as a kid. I didn't pick up this game until I was like 15 or so, because the fact that it had all those Disney characters and Square, and I was like, would it really mesh well together? I don't really know. And then I picked it up when I was 15, played it, and oh my god, loved it. I regretted not buying it when I was younger. The other main gripe I had was that I didn't like Haley Joel Osment as an actor. I had some beef against him. I don't know, just crazy people have just like that one actor or actress that they just hate for no reason. Haley Joel Osment was mine, and he's the voice of Sora, so when I saw his name on the back cover, I was like, yep, I'm putting this back on the shelf, until I finally gave in, and I'm so glad that I did. But it only gets an honorary mention because I never actually played it as a kid. Now, with all of that out of the way, let's get on to number one, and I bet you can't guess what it is. Actually, if you know me, and if you've been following my channel and stuff, then you could probably have a pretty good idea what my number one will be based on other things that I've talked about before. So, let's get into it and see if you were right, hey? My number one is Donkey Kong Country 2. See, I told you that if you knew anything about me, you probably could have guessed this. This is probably one of my favorite games of all time, even to this day. The controls are tight, the levels are varied and amazing with so much variety in each of them, and that soundtrack, oh my god, simply amazing. In fact, you should watch my other top 11 video about music. Maybe Donkey Kong Country 2 will feature on there too. This game stars Diddy Kong and Dixie Kong as they go to rescue Donkey Kong from King K. Rool. Nice and simple, but the path there is one full of peril and honestly lots of fun. Each level has a cool look to it with very few levels looking the same, and even when they do, they use different ideas in them. Giving you the control of Diddy and Dixie was a great idea. It meant a whole new way of playing because you could helicopter glide as Dixie to hover over long distances, whilst Diddy kept his signature roll off the platform and jump in mid-air. No longer were you encumbered by the really big and slowly awkward Donkey Kong, so you could breeze through so many of these levels really quickly, and the levels are designed based on both of the cons. Not only did they add a new character to the mix, but they also added a way to play as the animals themselves. Not just riding them like the first game, but as them. This made it so certain levels were designed around that animal's strengths and weaknesses and added even more variety to this game. In addition to this, bonus coins were added to the mix, where in the first game finishing a bonus was just an extra life or something, yeah, pretty shitty, but here it's a coin that you could trade into Blubber for bonus levels, which went on to unlocking the true ending of the game. They also added in hero tokens, but everyone I know calls them DK coins due to the fact that they're a massive coin with a giant DK on them, and one was hidden in every level, mostly out of the main path or in a hidden area requiring a certain character to get. They were a challenge to find and collect, but oh so worth it, and you felt really accomplished in finding them. Donkey Kong Country 2 is a game that I can just talk about for hours and days and like literally years because it is so much fun. But I will save you that because, you know, this video's already gone on long enough. But rest assured, this is probably one of my favorite games of all time, honestly. Even as a kid today and definitely into the future, this will still be ranked very high up on my favorite games of all time. But anyways, since this is a YouTubey thing, I'm gonna nominate 2 other people to do videos of their top 5 childhood games, and I would like to see Housukoira do one as well. He hasn't been doing very many videos, so hopefully this will get him back into making a video, and you know, I can see what kind of games he used to play, because he doesn't live in the same like English-speaking countries as most of the other YouTubers I know, so it'd be interesting to see what he played, as well as the Super Badnik brothers as well, because I already know some of the games that would be on their list, and I want to see how many I can guess before I watch the episode. So yeah, so I'll leave links down for their channels as well, and you should definitely check them out because they're pretty cool. So guys, tell me what you think about my top 11 video games of my childhood. I had a hard time narrowing this list down. Honestly, the honorable mentions were a lot longer, but I had to cut that down as well. I just had so many fond memories of a kid playing video games. So let me know some of your favorite games as well, and see if, you know, if some of these games resonated with you, because I know watching some of these other people's games, I was like, wow, that's on your top 5, really? And then other people will be like, yep, that's a great game, it should be on your top 5. And everyone's had so many different things, so let me know what you guys think. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye! Having never played the other Metroid games, I wasn't too sure what was going on in the story, but I knew that space pirates were attacking. I'm not sponsored by Coca-Cola, I'm just thirsty.